There's 20 hours of that interview when she's sitting there. There's 20 hours of it. I mean, the film could have just been that, you know. And I was like comatose for like a week, I think, after I saw the footage. But yeah.
Some questions?
I'm really loud. I don't think I did my.
So the TSA has never questioned you? I mean,
Actually,
we can question.
it's not funny. So I got here. By the way, you have this thing called an amnesty bin. What is that? You know, have you seen in the airport amnesty bin?
It's where you drop your atlas.
Oh, I couldn't fit in it. I was sending a picture and mail it to the government. I'm like, here's a bin. No, I just don't. You know, this is where my privilege kind of comes into play. Like, I bet if I've heard some really horrible, like for example, tomorrow I'm going to fly out of here to go to San Francisco to go home to New York, right? So I only have the Filipino passport to fly. Like, I don't have any other ID. That's the only ID I have is that, my Bank of America debit card, and the cover of Time magazine that I carry with me when I'm flying. So I'm going to show this TSA people tomorrow at the airport my Filipino passport. If they flip it and they don't see a visa, they can actually arrest me. But they never do that. Now, they can, especially them. My lawyers are like, do not put that in the film. Why hide that now? Like, I want people to understand that, like, you know, and you're looking at somebody who's the most privileged, legal person in America. You know, like, if I were brown and I spoke with a thick accent, whatever accent it may be, I bet you I'd probably be more scared. Whenever I just, you know, showed him my passport. But I'm not really, it's funny, like I lived most of my life being scared that after doing this 2.5 years ago, it's like the best thing I probably could have given to I thought I was just going to get deported. I mean, I had planned for that. I certainly did not plan that the government would greet me with such stunned silence. That I did not plan for. You know, I've done Bill O'Reilly, I go on Fox News more than I go on MSNBC and CNN. So I've done Fox quite a bit, and the reaction from the audiences on Fox News has just been really astounding. Because they're like, but you speak English so good. Just the stereotypes that people have. So, yes, ma'am.
Where does immigration reform stand now? What's happening with it?
You know, the president had one of his Oval Office, White House press conferences yesterday. At the end of the day, you know, we're at the mercy of the House of Representatives. We don't really know what they're going to do. People have said there's only 19 days left in the legislative session this year, so we doubt anything's going to happen there. But actually, I'm coming back to Hawaii in December. We're going to do a meeting with the governor here, just because, like, what can states be doing, you know, to kind of, if our government was just shut down. You know, I'm not quite sure immigration reform is something we can get done that quickly right now. So what can individual states be doing, right? Like, should people here in Hawaii, if you're documented in Hawaii, should you be given a driver's license? I would love a driver's license. Like, Governor Brown in California just signed a driver's licenses bill that gives undocumented people in the state driver's licenses. So can Hawaii do the same thing? Why not? Y'all know we're driving. You know, y'all know we're driving on the same roads as you are. It would be safer. People will make the argument, of course, that why are you awarding criminality with some? I consider it a privilege to drive. I mean, it is a privilege to drive. I mean, really, those questions that I asked in the Senate is kind of my question to the American public. Like, what do you want to do with us? You know, we can't all just babysit your kids and mow your lawn and serve your drinks. So, can we go to school? Can we drive? You know, I mean, these are pretty basic questions that, frankly, I think, you know, should be asked to the American public.
So
Yes, sir.
where you already shown the film, and how did you end up here in Miami?
Oh, it's a great Hawaii International Film Festival. So we've only shown it, we premiered the film, a very different version of the film, actually in June, right before the Senate voted on immigration reform. And then we had a big screening with Mark Zuckerberg, because I wanted a big kind of like all the tech leaders with undocumented people in San Francisco. So this is only our third screening, actually, in Hawaii. And then we're gonna do more festivals, like the International Documentary Film Festival in Amsterdam is the largest documentary. I can't go there, but they're gonna Skype me in, which is perfect, right? Considering film. And then we're gonna do more festivals around the country. We're gonna be, I can't announce it yet, but we're gonna be in theaters early next year, hopefully here in Hawaii as well. And then we're gonna be broadcast in a pretty major channel, probably by spring. So that's how we're gonna Netflix. So we're doing kind of my goal now in the next few weeks, like for example, we're planning a big screening of the film with Senator McCain in Arizona. I'm doing a couple of Tea Party screenings specifically, one in California, one in Nebraska. I'm gonna, I really need to take the film where the film needs to be seen, which is in more quote unquote conservative districts. I mean, what did you think of the Iowa scene when I crashed that thing? I mean, weren't they like so friendly? They were so friendly. They wanted to help me out. Talk to Grassley, they said.
Why didn't you ever talk to Grassley?
When I testified, he was actually in the committee. He just never bothered to listen to what I had to say. He got up to the left before he even testified. It's really, really important that I would argue that immigration is the most controversial yet least understood issue in America. I think that just scene in Iowa, I think encapsulates that. I think the scene in Alabama with the drunken dude and the farmer. I think that farmer, his name is Lawrence Calvert. He knows the nuances of immigration reform in the way that Ted Cruz or any of the senators, actually, or most of the senators, spoken of immigration reform. And he's a hardcore Republican. So we're going to screen the film actually in Birmingham. We're going to do a screening in Des Moines. I'm really curious what Iowans think of the film. But yeah, so that's kind of the plan so far. But I need to take the film in places that, I don't need to show the film in New York. We're going to do that, but it needs to be places that need to see it. So, yes.
One of the things that came out in the film is that you came out as gay.
Oh,
And
that was the first one.
one of the, I mean, it's obviously been a huge issue with the gay marriage rights in our country, and has been a huge problem for people who are gay and lesbian, who are immigrants, regardless of whether they have the papers or not. What would you like to see happen around those issues?
So is Hawaii going to allow same-sex marriage? Do you guys
Hope
know?
so.
What's going to happen?
We vote next week.
Next week?
Monday
Monday.
we got a special session.
Okay. So thankfully, the Obama administration actually, because they've struck the Defense of Marriage Act down, so there's about 300,000 undocumented people in the country who are also gay, or lesbian, or transgender, or bisexual. There's about 300,000. I think it's a pretty conservative estimate. So now, because the Defense of Marriage Act got struck down, I can actually, if I were seeing it, if I were with anybody, I could actually marry an American citizen and hopefully get a green card that way. It's actually part of the reason why I'm in Hawaii, trying to find someone to marry. So that's one way. But just, since I have voluntarily put myself in the public eye, I can't be seen as committing fraud. Just, I've had some friends who are like, hey, just get married and get that green card. I wish I could just do that. I can't, unfortunately. But, look, like, there's more to LGBT rights than just marriage, right?
Absolutely.
There's a lot of issues. To me, I actually think, I find this intersection between LGBT rights and immigrant rights so fascinating. Even the fact that we're using the same language coming out, right? And as far as I'm concerned, that people like me aren't really coming out. Like, we're just letting people in, right? Like, this is what it's like to live in this country as really a second-class citizen. And so I think in the next few, certainly years, we're gonna find how those two issues intersect, and what are they really both about? Like, I did a week-long, I've been in Alabama 5 times now. I did a week-long lecture series at the University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa, which is not Hawaii. Let me tell you that much. But it was fascinating being in an environment where, you know, a lot of the students, I was the first, one of the teachers said to me, you know, you're the first illegal homosexual they've ever, like, seen. And then you just see how, as a country, you know, here we are, and I know this because I covered Obama for 2.5 years when I was at the Washington Post, when he was campaigning the first time around. Here we are thinking that electing Barack Obama president was like this, and it was, you know, it was this, having people say, oh, you know, racism is over now. Are you kidding me? The conversation just got started. As far as I'm concerned, you know, we are a country that's always been obsessed with having the other, right? Blacks as the other, gay people, illegals. And in many ways, Obama winning and, you know, being reelected was like, we had just elected the other president. And now anybody in this country who's ever felt like the other, I think, got empowered, right, in a different way. Which is probably my segue to this. I'm actually working on my next film that I'm working on is I'm doing a film on whiteness. I'm doing a film on whiteness in the post-Obama era. What does it mean to be white in a country that's getting less white? And Hawaii, in some ways, you guys are ahead of the curve in that regard. You know, being a minority-majority state. But when you go to places like Alabama and Kansas and Arkansas and Ohio, I'm going to Lubbock, Texas, just this coming Friday. It's a completely different scenario, you know. And people think that my being gay and my being quote unquote illegal and my even being Filipino. Like, it's really great, by the way, being in Hawaii for the past 10 days, where I never have to explain what Filipino is. Or I can smell vinegar, people making adobo and stuff. Like, it's amazing. But, you know, for the rest of the country, they don't know what that is. Like, being in Hawaii, I get asked what kind of Asian I am. You know, like, are you Japanese? Are you Korean? Are you, oh, you're allowed to be these things? So, like, in the mainland, you know, it's like, you're Asian. That's it. End of conversation. So, to me, that's where the conversation is really going. And that transcends being gay and being undocumented or being Filipino. It's just that we are now, our country, the other has become all of us, in a way. And I'm really interested in that from a narrative perspective. I could have done a whole film on The Farmer. You know, we spent a lot of time with Lawrence Calvert, and it was just fascinating. Kind of observing the generations and how they're all kind of dealing with these changes, and they feel like I'm there to take something away from them. And really my job is, I'm not taking away a slice of your pie, I'm